This is the young guy, where I share what it's like navigating life as a young adult in the 21st century. The mistakes, the lessons, the wins, and everything in between. If you're growing, learning, and figuring out life as you go, you're in the right place. So, let's begin. Everyone wants to go viral. We don't always say it out loud, but we feel it. That hope, that curiosity, that quiet in the back of your mind that says, what if this is the one? What if one post changes everything? What if one clip finally makes people listen? What if one moment puts your name in rooms you've never been invited to before? Virality feels like the modern miracle, like proof that you matter, like evidence that your voice landed. But nobody really talks about what happens after the number goes up. This episode is far from anti-virality. I don't believe being seen is bad. I don't believe attention is evil. But I do believe we don't talk enough about what visibility costs. Because sometimes what it takes to be seen is the same thing that makes you lose yourself. So why is this the topic right now, or why does this hit right now? Well, virality is the new lottery ticket. We've replaced one day I'll make it with one day this will blow up. And the thing is, it actually happens to regular people. I know some people are like that. You know, quiet creators, artists, thinkers, storytellers who wake up one morning and realize the internet knows their name. But here's the part that we really don't prepare people for, especially young people today. They aren't just chasing attention. They're navigating the fear of being misunderstood, of being boxed into a version of themselves that no longer fits. They're trying to grow in public while algorithms reward sameness. They're trying to evolve while the internet prefers consistency. And when finally something works, the fear isn't feeling anymore. That new fear is becoming trapped by success. When something blows up or when something goes viral, people don't meet you. They meet a moment, a tone, a caption, a version of you that existed for 30 seconds on someone else's screen. They don't know your journey. They don't know your nuisance. They don't know the versions of you that came before or after. They just know that moment. They don't care about you at all. And you have to realize that. But out of all of that chaos, expectations arrive. People want more of that. They want the same voice, the same feeling, the same energy, not growth. They don't care about your growth. They don't care about you at all. Not evolution, repetition, consistency. You did one day this week, they want you to do it the same thing, the same day next week, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever until you burn yourself out and you realize that, what am I doing this for? And then that pressure comes to repeat. At first, you're like, oh man, wow, they really love me. Wow, they really love my content. It becomes flattering. It feels flattering. And then you start to get confused over a certain amount of time. And then you start to feel heavy. The pressure, it starts to feel heavy. It's like a burden. Because now every idea, it runs through a filter. Will it perform? Will it confuse people? Will this lose the audience that you just gained? And without noticing, you stop creating from curiosity. You start creating from memory, from analytics, from the fear, from the version of your true self that already proved it could win. And that's when creativity turns into maintenance. The maintenance is where authenticity goes to fade. It's kind of like a job, right? You're working your dream job, your passion, right? But over time, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't feel the same anymore. So you kind of lose that light, and it just feels empty, and you're just doing it to get by. And that's what basically viral comes in. And something similar to a job, at least in my personal experience, you start to become trapped. But in this sense, the identity trapped. Because is becoming viral, it freezes you in time. I've never became viral before, but I'm speaking from what I've seen and from what others have told me. It freezes you in time. You become known for a version of yourself you've already outgrown. Because as humans, it's natural. We evolve, we change over time. And that's totally okay. But growth doesn't always announce itself. You can announce that because no one cares. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's internal. And the internet doesn't reward that. They don't care about that. So you start to hesitate. You start to soften your edges in a sense. You delay pivots because the old version of you still performs better. Like and honestly, you need to ask yourself every video before you record it or before you post it. Am I still doing it? Am I, let me rephrase that. Am I still creating from truth or from fear of losing relevance? And that question doesn't show up loudly. It creeps in slowly. And honestly, if you don't answer it truthfully, you'll wake up one day successful, but disconnected. It's kind of like wealth. Yeah, you may have all this money, but at what cost? You're lonely at the top. And you don't want to get to that point because it loses meaning. And speaking of meaning, here comes the numbers and meaning of wanting to become viral. Like I said, I've never been viral. I'm just speaking from what I've been told or what I've seen with my own eyes. Because in this social media world or in this digital world, we're taught to trust the numbers, the metrics, the dashboards. In a sense, we call it feedback. And yes, it is feedback to an extent, but we shouldn't just rely on that. But still we do. We call it proof. But numbers don't tell you how something felt. Views don't equal connection. And engagement doesn't equal understanding. And I've had posts myself that had, or reels or YouTube videos that's had hundreds of views and the likes, but I still felt empty because I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for them. But on the flip side, I've also had work that only reached a few amount of people, 5, 10 people. And I've had comments that reached out to me like, hey, I really love this video. This really got me, out of my depression, or this really helped me navigate life in a better way. And I got a few of them, and that felt real. It felt like I was actually doing something. So high reach, low fulfillment, and that contrast changes how you define success. So you have to basically ask yourself, which one would you rather have? High reach, low fulfillment, or vice versa? And another thing people don't realize, what comes with the fame or becoming viral or recording your daily life or activities, is you're basically selling yourself. It's that silent pressure that comes along with being visible to turn your personality into content, because you're not yourself anymore. You're basically a machine, a flesh machine to make people laugh, to package your vulnerability, to make your life accessible, to feel like you owe people updates about your own life and explanations. Like, that should not be the case, but it's true. But slowly you stop asking. And you need to ask this: do I want to share this? Will this perform? But just because people want more doesn't mean they deserve more. You got to realize that at the end of the day, you're living life for you, not for them. Some things are meant to be lived, not posted. And honestly, if I'm keeping it real, some moments lose their power the second that they're uploaded. Enjoy the moment, live your life. Not everything has to be recorded. Those intimate moments, just live. I promise you, it's a lot better than having everything recorded. And you can record it if you want. By all means, at the end of the day, you're your own person. But truthfully, some things are just meant to be private, confidential. And selling yourself is not worth it in the long run, because you keep evolving, and you look back years later, you're like, why did I do that? Why did I post that? That's not me. And you look back and you just cringe, and maybe you have kids and your kids to see that. I'm like, wow, my dad was like that, or my mom was like that before. Like, wow, what happened? And it starts to sink in, and you're like, wow, maybe I shouldn't have posted every single thing about my life, because now you have a lot of people. One, you have people judging you, and two, you have people that care about you looking at what you were before, and now you don't know what to think. So that's where you have to realize, okay, you got to stay true to yourself. Staying true is the best thing to do. However, staying true isn't loud. You got to realize that. And honest work is quieter. Authentic growth is slower. Becoming viral, it rewards extreme, not nuisance, not steady, not slow, not quiet moments, not journeys. But people grow, and the right people grow with you. You see, yeah, sure, you may get fewer likes, but that's not failure. It's peace. Maybe not going viral is protection, for mentally and spiritually. And like I said before, there was a moment I realized that chasing reaction instead of expression, it's not the best idea. Posting things I knew would land even if they weren't fully me. I've seen throwaway posts outperform work I poured my soul into, man. I promise you. But I felt disconnected from things that everyone else loved. And I've chosen not to post moments that felt too sacred to hand over. And every time I chose the truth over traction, it felt quieter, but lighter. It's like I felt I wasn't being two-faced. I wasn't putting on a facade like a lot of these streamers do. Like Castanet, for example. I'm pretty sure, and I'm like 99% sure, maybe 95, that how he acts on camera is not his true authentic self. He's doing that for the cameras. He's doing that for the facade, because that's what his audience wants. That's what they like. That's what they gravitate towards. But that's not him. And honestly, I don't see how he has done it for that long. Like, kudos to him, bro. Drewski's probably the same way. I don't know their personal life, and that's not for me to know, but I feel like he's probably in the same boat, and you don't want to get to that route. And I feel like he realized how he was kind of losing himself, which is probably why he took that break. And I don't blame him, honestly. But you got to ask yourself the deeper questions. If growth is internal, but success is external, which one do you trust? Would you rather be known by millions or understood by a few? Are you afraid of blowing up for the wrong reason? Probably. I mean, there's risks of anything you do, and I want you guys to ask yourself that before you start doing whatever you do, or with anything in life. Ask yourself: are the pros worth it? Are the cons worth it? Maybe the goal isn't to go viral. Maybe it's to go deeper. And I don't want to be known for a moment. I want to be known for my truth. And maybe staying true, honestly, is the real flex. So, whatever you do in this life, whatever you want to be, or whatever you want to pretend to be, hopefully you're not pretending. Hopefully you're staying authentic and true to yourself. But ask yourself these questions and reflect on them and truly, truly digest what you're producing. And is it good for you? And is it good for the audience that to be watching? Because if you're just doing it for views, likes, and attention, you're doing it for the wrong reason. And that's going to run out. But if you're doing it because you actually care, you care about that craft, you care about what you're doing, you want to help people, you want to educate, whatever that may be, you'll last a lot longer in this game than you may think. So this wasn't a long podcast, but it was definitely one that I felt like I needed to voice. And especially in this digital age that we're in, I feel like that it needed to be said. So for those of you that think that you're doing it for the wrong reason, or maybe you needed a different perspective, I hope this honestly helped, because it helped me, honestly. And it's definitely taking me down a different path as to what I truly want to do and truly want to produce, instead of doing it for the likes of attention. Because like I said, my YouTube channel, I used to do reaction videos, but I wasn't really fulfilled by that. I just did it for the views, or I did it for, like I said, the people. And I was questioning myself, like, why am I doing this? Like, I don't like any of this. It felt like a chore, honestly. And I don't want my passion to be a chore. So I stopped. And I'm currently still figuring out what I want to do YouTube wise. I know something related to photography, but we're going to get to that point where I'm going to love what I post, you know. But until that point comes, we're going to work on that craft, and we're going to become better. But until that moment comes, stay true to you. Be yourself at all times. Don't fake it for anybody else, because at the end of the day, they don't care about you. They just care about what you did and how you made them laugh for like 15, 20 seconds. So until then, I'll see you in the next episode.